I'm Misha Hadaway, CEO and owner of Gentle Mama Counseling, and you're tuned into Ladies Power Lunch.
Hi, I'm Nadine Keller, CEO of Precision Sales Coaching and Training, and you are tuned into the Ladies Power Lunch Show.
Hi, I'm Debbie Sodergren, the CEO of Up Vibrations, and you are plugged into the Ladies Power Lunch Show.
Hi, I'm Christy Sullivan, human design expert, author, and speaker, and you are tuned in to the Ladies Power Lunch Show.
Hi, I'm Keisha Zulo, president of Events of Joy, and you're tuned into the Ladies Power Lunch Show.
Hi, I'm Mary Colangelo. I'm an international fashion therapist, and you are tuned in to the Ladies Power Lunch Show.
Hi, I'm LaQuisha Clemens, the CEO of Freedom Life Therapy and Wellness. You are tuned in to the Ladies Power Lunch Show.
Hi, I'm Kiana Coachman Strickland, also known as DJ Q Boogie. I'm the founder of Female DJ Association, and you are tuned into the Ladies Power Lunch Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life show. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Dr. Devia Shepherd. I am your host, and in addition to hosting this outstanding show, I also host a women's group called Ladies Power Lunch. So before we dive into today's show, which is going to be so outstanding because we have a special guest with us, Laura West, who is such an amazing friend to me, I want to tell you a little bit about Ladies Power Lunch, and I want to invite you to come join us. Ladies Power Lunch is a wonderful, amazing place where women in business, we're talking all kinds of women in business, women in small business, large business, women in brick and mortar business, online business, solopreneurs, people who are in corporate, nonprofit. It doesn't really matter where you are in business. As long as you're a woman in business, you're welcome. And what we believe in our group is that nobody has to recreate the wheel. So you see that thing that you're struggling with in your business? I guarantee there's someone in our group who's already been there, who's already done that, who's bought that t-shirt, and who's willing to open her arms and share her gifts and talents with you. And of course, I'm sure that you have gifts and talents that you can share with the group too. And I believe that when we collaborate, when we share our resources, that everybody has the opportunity to grow. You know how they say that rising tide lifts all boats? I've lived close to the shore, folks. It's true. Like when the tide comes in, you don't find some boats coming in and some kind of left out there. Everybody wins. And so come join us. Just go to growsmarter.com/login. And there you'll see all the information about how to become a part of our outstanding community of women in business focused on supporting each other. All right, let's get on with this show. Today, I have with me a woman that is so dear to my heart. Her name is Laura West, and she owns Joyful Business. And just the name alone already gives you an idea of how amazing a person she is. I happened to meet her when I was in a program for women who lead retreats, and we hit it off immediately. But Laura, I want to just say welcome. Thanks so much for saying yes to being a part of our show today. And can you, in your own words, just share with everybody a little bit about who you are, your origin story, because you are a superhero, and the amazing stuff that you're doing in the world.
Thank you so much for inviting me back. It's so great to be here, and just truly honored to be able to speak with you and your soul tribe, your community anytime. Such an honor. So yeah, I am, I call myself a business alchemy coach. I'm an intuitive guidance coach, quantum human design specialist, and Akashic record practitioner and healer. And I bring all that together to work with change makers, leaders, entrepreneurs who are out there doing good things in the world, and they want to spread it even bigger in a way that is really authentic, right? That it's really soul aligned. And so I've been doing this for a long time. I'm getting ready to celebrate my 25th year, which is really quite extraordinary, I think.
So basically, you've been doing this since you were a baby. Clearly.
Yeah, right. I had a whole other career before this in corporate, so, but, when I was leaving corporate, I was in a period of burnout, and it was my first experience with burnout, as a VP of marketing, and I had lost all my passion. We had gone through 5 burnouts. I can't remember now if it was 6 or 7. I can't remember how many buyouts and mergers in about 5 years. And it was really super stressful. And then I hired a coach, to start figuring out what do I really want to do with my life. I was starting to have kids, and this traveling every single week and being gone for, weeks at a time wasn't quite working. And it just wasn't fulfilling work. And I just knew there had to be a different way. And so I fell in love with coaching, and that's when I started my coaching business. And in the beginning years, I just always had this niggling thought that, like, joy matters. Like having gone through all of that burnout and losing my joy and seeing my colleagues with their stress, with their relationships falling apart. And when I had one boss whose teeth became loose because she was so stressed during a merger and buyout, and things happen, like that. Physical things happen, relationship things happen. You lose your compass, you lose your way. And anyways, all throughout all of this, I kept having this feeling like joy mattered. If you're happy in your business, it matters. If you feel passionate and about the people that you work with and whatever you're doing, doesn't matter if you're a CPA or, if you're really a passion oriented business. And so I started, well, what happened is a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, sent me this article about a research program that was done by Barbara Fredrickson. And she is, Dr. Fredrickson is one of the original people who started the positive psychology movement. And it was all about joy in business. And she was validating exactly what we knew intuitively, but we wouldn't believe it, right? I used to go to my husband's Christmas parties. He was a banker. And we'd go to Christmas parties and people would be like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I have this company called Joyful Business. I'm a coach. And they're like, wait a minute, joyful business, joy in business. I don't understand. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. They would just look at me like I had
It's like an oxymoron, joy in business.
it didn't make any sense. Yeah. Now, today, finally, the tides have turned and people are really seeking joy in their life, in their business. They're seeking that meaningful work. And so that became a mission of mine. I changed my business back 23 years ago and really orient towards joy as the number one productivity tool, is what I always say, that when you're in your joy, things are so much easier, right? You're magnetic, you attract clients, you attract opportunities, you attract help, right? Collaborators, right? So that's kind of the very original origin story. And then what I've realized lately, having this last year, I had a really big birthday, gone through yet another burnout period because I've taken so much energy from the world. It's been a crazy, rocky year full of uncertainty and disruption. And yeah, and I've gone through this big burnout period. And what I've realized is that I've gone through 3 different burnout periods in my life. And I was like, how did I not see this? Where did this come from? And so what I started realizing was that I wasn't using my energy right. I wasn't really being true to my design. And so I've really changed my life, changed my business, and things are much more in alignment. So I can talk more about it, but yeah. That was a lot.
But it's all, quite wonderful that you are open to being so kind and sharing
Yeah.
this with us. And I truly, truly appreciate it. As a person who has also had my own brush with burnout, and I've shared this on the show multiple times. I've written about it in our numerous Ladies Power Lunch
Mhm.
publications. Burnout is real. It's something that a lot of women in business experience. And there is always the other side of it, getting to the other side. But of course, having the right support as you go through that is going to be what's most important. I think
Yes.
because you've mentioned, that this past year has had a lot of changes. And I know for sure that women in business are experiencing a lot of these changes in their businesses. Do you have any advice for us how to be successful even when we're seeing things change around us so rapidly?
Yes. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And, just continuing on with the burnout conversation, I've never had so many people come to me feeling the burnout, right? It really has become this, I don't want to say it's become an epidemic. I actually think that we're finally giving ourselves permission to
Yes.
acknowledge that, wow, this model doesn't work for me, or this model doesn't work for me, or running my business this way doesn't work for me.
Mhm,
um,
mhm.
and giving ourselves permission to do it a different way. And so that's my number one advice, is to really look at what is working in your business and what's not working in your business. With my clients, I call it identifying the old map and then really claiming and identifying and creating this new map. And the old map has stuff like the old stories where we're measured by our accomplishments. We're measured by our number of likes. We have to work, we have to hustle and grind. And that is not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. It doesn't matter what kind of design you are. And on the new map is really taking the time to understand what your design is and as I've shared with you, I'm a big proponent of quantum human design, where you actually find your design and what your soul purpose is, and how you're meant to show up and work to create, how you're meant to rest, how you're meant to access your intuition and make decisions. And it's very different per person. And that's something that I didn't understand for the last 20 some years, that I kept measuring myself against other, especially women entrepreneurs, women business coaches. It's like, how are they doing all the things they're doing? And why do they do it that way? And why can't I seem to do it that way? What's missing or what's wrong with me? And when I discovered and brought human design into my business, especially quantum human design, I just discovered a whole new map, my unique and authentic map. And it's like, oh, this is the way I'm meant to work. And it has brought such relief and such permission to be more of who I am in a whole different way. I mean, I'm always about be who you are, be authentic. This takes it to a whole new level, and it gives me an energetic map to be able to lean into. So that would be the number one thing that I would recommend, is really taking some time to reflect on what's on your old map. What are you no longer willing to bring into your business?
Mhm.
And what's on that new map that is essential and even non-negotiable?
I love that so much. So maybe you can help us to break it down as we look at the old map and we lean into the new map. What are some of the do's and don'ts that you would
Mhm.
recommend to us? You know, what are
Yeah.
some of the things that you might have maybe seen with clients that you want to caution us
Mhm.
against?
Well, I think the number one thing is that, LinkedIn, with being an entrepreneur, seems to be this constant, there's a story that you have to constantly be working hard, working a lot. And it's kind of
Hmm.
natural, because a lot of us start, especially women, start our businesses because we're passionate about helping people. And so our passion, which I love following our passion, but it also can be a dangerous path. So being careful that your passion doesn't consume you and take over your life, so that you're actually not providing, having space for your well-being, your health and well-being, because you're not going to be able to give and continue and give in a sustainable way if you're not really helping people, or helping yourself first, so that you can help more people. So that's the number one thing that I would look at. And then I would really look at, um, along with that, is really paying attention and learning about your nervous system. That's something that I bring into
Mm.
all of my work now. Is, are you operating from fight, flight, freeze? Is that getting the
Mm.
best of you? And you're being hijacked by these emotional waves that are coming in that may or may not be yours, right? I always ask my clients when that's happening, it's like, is this actually your energy that you're being hijacked by? And then we bring
Mhm.
in somatic experiences where they get into their body, so they can calm their nervous system down through breathing, through taking up space. And from there, it's like, then how do I go into my design? What do I need to lean into, and what my natural design is, what my natural archetype is, instead of trying to just act like everybody else that you see out there on social media. You're only seeing a little teeny glimpse of their picture, right? We know that, but yet we still get activated by it, right? We get triggered by it. So
Yeah,
those are a
those are
few.
some
Yeah.
those yeah, those are some really, really good reminders. I love the reminders about checking in with your nervous system, because really and truly, if you're able to prevent that extreme nervous system activation, you can really hold that idea of burnout at bay, because it's that constant
Yeah.
exposure to increased cortisol and adrenaline that's
Yeah.
actually causing, I have to say, some physiological changes to take place in your body. Because putting on my doctor hat now, you know, cortisol and adrenaline, they're amazing for getting you through a sticky situation. But
In
if
short
that's
bursts, right?
in short bursts, yes, but if this is what's bathing your organs all day, every
Yeah.
day, even in a low grade way, they are catabolic hormones and they break things down. And
Yeah.
guess what? They're going to break you down. It's like your
Yes.
car, you're going to be broken down on the side of the road. It's not
Absolutely,
great.
absolutely. It's one of the first things I actually check in with my clients on. And here we are doing business coaching, leadership coaching, and it's like, how are you sleeping? Right? Because that's usually the
Yes.
number one thing that will tell people, will tell me, tell them, if they are, if their cortisol and adrenals are just going nonstop, or, just surging all over the place. And then the first thing it'll impact is their sleep. And then, yes, it becomes this, it can become really tricky health issues, really serious health issues.
Yes.
And so, like, to me, that's essential, because it is not sustainable to work like that. It's just not. And we've been sold a story, people, I do think people shared what they thought they wanted to share, based on what they thought back 20 years ago. But it's like we've learned so much now.
Yes.
And, our nervous systems are critical to our business success. And then doing the practices. So having your morning practices where you check in with your energy. What are your energetics? Check in with your nervous system. Do your journaling or do your somatic movement, and then get into more of your own authentic power. And then from there, you're able to make decisions. You're able to say yes. I call it the big yes frequency, like really clearing the deck so that you're totally aligned in your body. So then you can say, what's my big yes frequency? And what's my no? What's my watery maybe that is really a no, right? And then it's like staying aligned with that big yes and using that as your compass.
Some time ago, you said something that I have filed away for future reference. You said to me, Davia, always say no more often so you can
Mm,
say yes more fully. And I was like, oh, that is so
yeah.
golden. So I've been quoting you, perhaps even on the show, so many times because I just feel like that is so important. When we at Ladies Power Lunch talk about balance, boundaries, beauty, and brilliance, that boundaries piece where you actually make sure that you're protecting yourself and you're saying yes to the right things and saying no to the things that are not going to be serving you. That's definitely going to be an important part of making sure that your nervous system stays in balance.
Yes, yes. I love that. And I love that you're quoting, and it's like having a life beyond. And I think it is such wise wisdom. And I have to remind myself as well that it's like when you're highly attuned, that means you're very empathic with other people's needs. You can understand and see what other people need. You're highly creative, you're highly intuitive. So you've got all these ideas running through you. And so you need some sort of way of saying, what is my big yes? And then how do I say no more frequently so I can say yes more fully? Because you can't say yes to everything.
You cannot.
We will run ourselves ragged, and then we'll scatter our energy, and scattered energy gets very little done. Focused energy. And believe me, I'm multi-passionate, so I have multi-focuses, foci, but we still need a way to say what really works for me and what do I say no, not now to, and just put it on the back burner for another time.
Yes, I very recently said yes to two things that I wanted to say yes to. And that was one was being a room parent for my son, and the other one was being a parent volunteer at my other son's school. I really wanted to say yes to those things. So I said yes. But what that meant was I had to say no to some other things. Like I was on some boards that I actually stepped down from because I needed to make that time. And instead of having myself pulled in all different directions, it just made sense for me to be able to focus on that no. So I totally get it. You've shared, your story about going through burnout on three separate occasions. And I've shared my story on the show in the past about how burnout actually changed my health. I actually ended up with an autoimmune diagnosis as a result of burnout. So we all know burnout is real. But can you share maybe give us an idea of maybe a client that you've worked with who has seen the benefit of approaching business from this joyful idea instead of the traditional grind mentality, and how not only have they felt better personally, been able to forego burnout or get past burnout, but also at the same time been able to grow business. Because I can just hear the questions in our Facebook group right now where people are like, yeah, I get it, but I got to keep grinding because I've got to make that money.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
what's your response to that?
Yeah, well, a couple things. I'll share something and then I'll share a story of a client. Um, this is part of why I love quantum human design because it gives you a real structure, like a not a structure like a box, but more of a place to lean into for knowing what your type is and how you show up in the world so that you are the most magnetic. And it incorporates like how do you rest as that particular archetype, right? How do you refill your well? And it's very different for different types. And so for me, it's can almost seem I'm a projector orchestrator in quantum human design. And it's like it can, I know you're a projector too, right? I think, Davia. Yeah. And so we have a very different type, as according to where 70% of the population who are meant to have that generator life force energy. And so one of the things that has been really brilliant for me is realizing that when I'm resting, when I'm rejuvenating, doing things that I love, it actually, like I've known this on one level, but there's a whole depth to now it's like, oh, this actually fuels my energy and makes me magnetic. And it does have to work so I can get things done because it's just magnetic. And so I don't have to work so hard like other people, in a different way. I'm working in a different way, right? And so that's made a huge difference, is to really lean in and trust my design, that it actually will help me find my magnetism so that work is a lot easier. And so I hear you, for a long time, I pretended I was a manifesting generator. I can just work, 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 do all the projects, do all the things. And that, of course, like, it was justified because I had to make more money, right? And but there's a whole other hack, if you will. I'm not big on that word, but it's like a whole other way of coming in and saying there is a different way that I'm naturally designed to be. And so I'm seeing that. One example is with a client. I love this client. I actually brought her in to be a joyful business ambassador because she has such great positive energy and creative energy. She was more of a marketing consultant when we first met, but the energy was so low. It just so like, it was like dragging through concrete, drying concrete to try to do anything. And she was getting very mediocre response. And then she gave herself permission through our coaching, gave herself permission to follow her passions. So she loves animals. And so she started going on all the sites, getting certified to be a pet sitter. And so she goes around the country and she'll watch your house and watch your dog and your cat for, a week or 2 or 3 weeks while you're gone. And she's also an artist. And so she started creating a sales page for her art and started creating journals with her art. And then one day she came to a coaching call and she was like, I'm doing all this and this is happening and all these things, amazing things are happening. But on our call, we need to focus on the marketing because I need to make money. And it was like, we got on the call and I'm like, I'm just going to bust this. I'm like, do you even want to do this marketing thing anymore? And she was like, no, not really. I'm like, what if this is actually dragging down your money? You think logically, oh, this is the path to cash. I can get a marketing client and make money. But what if it's dragging your energy so much that it's actually preventing, creating a container where you can't make money? And so she was like, you're right. And it was so aligned. The next day she changed her LinkedIn profile. She took that down from her website. She just made her website all about the other 2 things that she's doing without even knowing exactly, like, how am I going to make money as pet sitting and art? And now it's starting to flourish, right? It's like she's got journals on Amazon. She is learning to get how to do textiles with her art. Like, so much is expanding. She's came and watched my cat for a week. She's been all up and down the East Coast and all sorts of places with all sorts of adventures. So she's really changed her life. And it's changing her entire business and how she shows up. Yeah. And there's more to come, right? It's like, that's not the crescendo, like the crescendo is still coming, right?
That's really, really a beautiful story. And I love the part of the story that resonates for me is that, she's now able to focus on the things she loves. She's able to travel, she's able to hang out with amazing pets, she's able to do her art, she might even be able to do portraits of pets. And there are just so many opportunities that are going to open up for her as a result of this.
Right.
And sometimes we need to be able to let go of the thing that we think is
Yes.
the answer and
Yes.
embrace the real answer is for
And
us, where the joy is flowing from.
yeah. And it's not until you do that then the new vision comes to light. And that's where she's at now. It's like new visions, new opportunities that she couldn't have even imagined when she was back kind of locked in. This is how my formula, how I have to do it. So yes, it takes huge trust, and part of being an entrepreneur is taking those risks, but it looks different than you expect, right? And she's absolutely has a financial, goal in mind, and she's found creative ways through that.
So you've shared with us that there's an opportunity for us to look at the way we're doing our business and to look at the new way that we can do our business. You've shared with us some of the do's and don'ts when we're approaching that, and even focused a little bit on getting our nervous system to settle in the way that will prevent us from going into that burnout phase. If we were able to just take one thing away from today's show, because, folks aren't going to remember every single thing that we talked about, but if you could just wrap your arms around us, Laura, and just share one last piece of advice, what would that be? And maybe if you're
Mhm.
giving us a little homework, that might be a good idea too.
Yeah, sure, sure. Where I am focused and where I am helping my clients the most, is on the number one essential skill that I see for the future, which is really opening up to your intuition. And that might seem really different. Like, what's the marketing strategy? The marketing strategy is to connect with your intuition and trust your intuition with your clients and the work that you're doing with your clients, with your marketing decisions, your marketing projects, like really orienting yourself towards how do I go inside and really call in that wisdom and that guidance to help move me forward. And right now, it's like it is just impossible to tell what is true and what is real, and it's exhausting us all. And so looking outside is not really helping us, right? It's actually just making us really tired and confused. So really developing this skill of going inside, listening to your intuition, opening up to that guidance and practicing so that you can trust that guidance and then use it all throughout your business in all the different ways. So that's the number one thing that I would suggest, like if you get nothing else, is to start focusing on that. So then the number one thing, so then one of the things that you could do is to start looking for the clues. And it's a fun thing to do, but it's also really starts helping you orient. So following the clues, where is the energy expanding? Where's your heart expanding? Where's it contracting? What are the numbers, the synchronicities, the God winks that are coming up, the fortuitous connections that are coming up, or the opportunities that drop into your lap? Like pay attention to these things. Because the clues are, to me, it's the universe saying, dropping the breadcrumbs saying, hey, Laura, come over here, follow this way. Maybe you haven't thought of it yet, or maybe it's been on the side and it's like, what if you go more fully into that? And I think that's what we're being asked to do. As all of this disruption is getting reoriented, it's like we're really asking ourselves to go inside, check in with that intuition so that we can really tap into that creative power that we have so that we can create new solutions for where we're going in the future. We are the creators of the future. And so this is going to be one of the key skills to help us do that.
So you heard it here first, folks. This is your homework for the week. So when we can reconvene, I'd love to hear all of you share with us just how you've been able to apply these principles in your life and in your business. So, fun question that I like to ask everybody when they come on, because I feel like, the whole purpose of Ladies Power Lunch is for us to pool our ideas and pool our resources so that nobody ever has to struggle with trying to figure something out. They can always find an answer in the group. And of course, if you're not yet a member, please go ahead and join us at growsmarternotharder.com/log in. And that's how you get to be a member of our outstanding Ladies Power Lunch community. I love to ask folks who hop on the show, do you have anything right now that you found to be particularly helpful in your life or in your business? Any new apps or any new books that you're reading or just anything that's helping your life to go a little bit more smoothly?
I have lots of apps and things that I use, but one of the things that I'm really doubling down on is to unplug and go for reflection time. So I call it creative cafe time. I just went today. Today's actually my birthday. Yay! When we're recording this. And I went for some creative cafe time. And to me, that is reflection time that is priceless. And it's like if you're wanting to connect in with your intuition, to really regulate your nervous system, to really connect in with that big yes frequency, it's harder to do it on the go, right? Without practice. And so having that reflection time where you look at your life, what's working, what's not, you look at your creative projects, what are you unaligned with, what not, what do you want to expand? What are you actually ready to let go of? Right. And it's, to me, that's the best thing that we can do right now is to unplug and have some good old fashioned reflection time, have some creative cafe time so that we can actually hear our big yes and hear, open up that guidance and access to that guidance and wisdom.
Happy birthday. And
Thank you.
that is an outstanding recommendation. I mean, all the apps, all the books in the world, nothing really comes close to the time that we make for ourselves. So I would say, folks, go look at your calendars and make some white space in there for yourselves so that you can really tune into your own intuition. Laura says it works, and I know for sure that that has to be an important part of every single week.
Yeah.
So we're
And I would say
almost
bring have the white space, but actually schedule the creative cafe time, schedule it in there because you know what, we mean
yes.
to do it. We're going to do it. I'm fixing to do it, as we say in the South, but then it doesn't happen, right? It gets eaten up by all the other things. So schedule it like you would an appointment with your clients. Time away, time out. So just to add on to what you're saying.
I love that you said that because Laura, here's what happens to me sometimes. Sometimes I'll schedule that white space on my calendar and then I look at my to-do list
Right.
and I think, okay, I'm gonna use this white space, which was supposed to be my introspection time,
Yeah.
to knock off some things on my to-do list. And
Yeah.
so I end up actually not using it for what it was intended. So thanks for calling us on that because I know I'm not alone.
No, it happens to us all. That's why I say schedule like Friday, 9 to 11. I've got creative cafe time. Nope, sorry, I can't do that for you. I'm busy.
I have a meeting with me.
Yeah, and it's so important. It's so important. It's essential.
I love that. I love that. I usually at the end of each show, I pull a card and I was looking at the different decks that I have, and this one really jumped out at me. So I love Tosha Silver, and
I love her too.
she has this deck called Divine Abundance. And so I thought, let me pull a card from this deck. They're all lovely. Let's see what she has to say. And the cards, they're so simple. I think that's one of the reasons why I love it because it just gives you a really concise idea for a thought for the day or a thought for the week. This one says, reframe. This is happening for me, not to me. So in the context of what we've been talking about, Laura, how do you feel like this card fits in with your idea of us really taking time to look at the different ways that we could be doing our business?
Well, it's so funny that you pull that card, and that's what it means because this summer I have said that saying, it is happening for, how is this happening for me and not to me? I can't tell you how many times. I've had some weird
Mhm.
things happen, legal things and emotional things within the family. And it's like, I keep coming back to that question, how is this happening for me and
Mhm.
not to me? And each time for even like the burnout, that was a question, how is this happening for me, not to me? And each time it has led me back to, it's asking me to stand in my value. It's asking me to stand in my
Mm.
lovability and really my self-worth. And so it's, to me, it's calling me forward each and every circumstance. Now, everybody's circumstances might be different, but lots of times that is a foundational piece where it's like it's asking you to stand in your self-worth and your lovability.
I love that. I love that so much. I think this is a really lovely card, and I will, of course, post it in the Ladies Power Lunch community and invite all of our friends over at Ladies Power Lunch to drop their comments. Just say, what is this card saying to you when you see this reframe? This is happening for me, not to me. How is this hitting you? And I feel the same way you feel. Like I've had some upheavals, some changes that have happened more recently. And now in a little with a little bit of distance, I can look at it and say, yep, that was happening. It felt really acute in the moment,
Oh,
but
yeah.
now I can see it was all happening for me, every single bit of it. So that's a wonderful way for us to leave the show. Laura, folks are going to want to connect with you because everything that you've been saying has been hitting home for me, and I know it will be hitting home for everybody who's watching along with us today. How can people connect with you? And do you have anything coming up that people could participate in or anything like that?
Yeah, I sure do. Couple things. You can always go to joyfulbusiness.com and connect with me or connect with me on Facebook or LinkedIn. But I have a new program coming up called Whispers and Waves, and it's a 6-week intuition program. And we've got almost 20 people who've joined already because people are really feeling this is that number one skill. They're like, how do I do this intuition thing? Or how do I ramp it up more so that I'm open to receive more and I can truly, truly trust it? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what we're doing. So you can go to joyfulbusiness.com/WW, which stands for Whisper and Waves. And if you join by Friday, September 26th, then you'll get in the early savings of that. And we start on September 30th. And
Awesome.
love to have people there. It's really going to be a really fun, creative, but yet very transformational program.
And I can personally say that when it comes to transformation, Laura is an outstanding leader. I know
Mm.
this for a fact.
Thank you. Thank
Laura,
you. It's my life's work. It's my sole
it
purpose.
is, it is, it is, and you do it with such joy. It's been such a pleasure having this conversation with you on your birthday. Happy birthday from me and, of course, everybody at Ladies Power Lunch. We celebrate with you. Thank you, everybody, for watching along. This has been such an outstanding conversation, and I'm sure there's so much that you will get from this. So you should put this one on your re-listen list. If you're not as yet a member of our Ladies Power Lunch community, may I invite you one more time to just come join us? It's very easy to join. Go to growsmarter.com notharder.com/login. And there you'll see all the information about how you can be a part of our community, but you'll also see a lot of resources that are available for women in business, and all of it is 100% free because that is my passion. That is my passion project, to just help women in business to support each other and thrive. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, everybody, for joining along, and I'll see you all on the next show. Bye, everyone.